My next guest is Jeff Linden. Jeff brings energy, real world experience, and actionable strategies that can inspire educational leaders at all levels. Whether it's discussing school improvement, leadership development, or challenges facing modern educators, his insights are engaging and impactful. As a principal, he's had the opportunity to lead two very different school buildings, and each has had its unique needs. In both cases, he's worked with school improvement teams focused on finding practical solutions to meet the specific challenges of buildings. His role as a principal was to keep solutions and goals at the forefront and constantly remind the team of what they were working towards together. Welcome to the podcast, Jeff.
Hey, thank you for having me. I'm excited to be here.
Well, we're going to start off first with the question I ask everyone. Tell me about a time when you were in the trenches and managed to crawl out.
Oh boy, I think what I could talk about in my first principalship, I was at a small rural school. When you get into those small rural schools, you kind of put on a lot of different hats. And
Mm-hmm.
so, you are the principal, you are the, you know, uh, district curriculum director, you are managing a lot of different things. You are managing bus drivers, you're managing anything and everything you could think of, discipline, a lot of different roles that were thrown out there. And you think when you come in, you can just do it all yourself, but you can't. And I think learning how to collaborate with the people around me and using their expertise is what I learned in that first experience. And then moving forward into my role now at the Hastings High School, I was able to take the lessons I learned in my first principalship and apply those and learn how to collaborate with my teachers and with my staff to make progress on the things that we want to accomplish as a school and build in the culture we want to build for our kids.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. And we'll talk about later in the podcast some of the things that you've accomplished in the last couple of years. But I got connected with you because you were a podcast host as well, and you run the Ed Leadership podcast. Tell me a little bit about how you got started with that and what the goal is of the podcast.
Yeah, I have an interesting story with that. Back in 2022, I was looking for professional development. And I was like, let's check out some podcasts. There wasn't a lot out there.
Yeah.
I think Darren Peppard was one of the podcasts that I saw. And then Coach Angela Kelly, both former administrators, both people that have done the work. But I was just started to listening to some podcasts and I realized there just wasn't a lot out there for educational leadership. I found a lot for like teachers.
Mm-hmm.
So back in 2022, I thought, maybe it'd be a good idea if I started one.
Sure.
At that time, I was about 2 years into no, I was just finishing my fourth year
Mm-hmm.
in the principalship. I started vacation, thinking, oh, this would be fun to do. But I just wasn't confident in myself. I do some
Mm-hmm.
episodes, take a month off, do another episode, and then I come back around a couple years later, do another episode. And so I got about 7 episodes in about 2.5 years almost. And it wasn't until this past year in the
Mm-hmm.
fall of 2024 where I was like, you know what? I've been doing this for about 6.5, going in my seventh year. I have a lot of things I want to say and tell people and try to help. My main focus is just to be a resource for other educational leaders that are in the position and need something for the day to day or something like once a week that they could listen to maybe get
Mm-hmm.
ideas. But then what I did is going to my regional meetings and getting to hear the stories of other principals and then going to conferences and hearing the stories of other principals. I go, wouldn't it be neat to be able to share those kind of stories with other people? I'm
Mm-hmm.
not a writer. I like to talk, so I figured
Mm-hmm.
podcasting would be the way to go. So starting December of 2024, I just recommitted myself to my podcast and said, I'm going to try to put out an episode a week. I'm going to start, networking a little bit more. So I created my TikTok account, my Instagram account. I started following people, started talking to people. And my first interview back into getting things going was Principal Mo. So
Mm-hmm.
I got her coming. She's like a TikTok Prince fluencer, is what they call it. So she was a really fun interview, bringing on people like Joe Sanfilippo. I brought on Darren Peppard. We did some podcast swapping, just getting to network with other people nationwide and telling their stories and
Mm-hmm.
how, that would resonate with other people. And it's just kind of grown. So I've just been putting out an episode a week. I skipped a couple of weeks here and there, but for the most part, I got episodes out weekly, to where it's kind of grown into now I'm going to be going to the United Conference in Seattle, and there's a lot of people on my podcast that are going to be there that I'm going to
Mm-hmm.
get to connect with as well. But for me, I'm learning how to become a better leader through other people's experiences. And that's how I learn and grow, is learning from others. That's the way I've always done it. And so this podcast has been kind of like unintentionally my own PD, to
Yeah.
where I learn from other people, but I get to share that with other people to where they have something that they can go to and connect with and go, you know what, I want to reach out to that person and learn more about what they're doing, and maybe they could help me become better. And so that's kind of the idea of the podcast, the purpose of it. I put out some episodes that, I mean, I took put out what I talked about student death.
Mm-hmm.
And, we had 3 students passed away, 4 students actually in the last 3 years, 3 by suicide, 1 by a car accident, and how to manage those things. So I'll put out episodes
Mm-hmm.
that I feel like, not a lot of people talk about this, but
Yeah.
this is how, I've dealt with it or we've dealt with it, and maybe that could help somebody down the road. So
Mm-hmm.
that's kind of the overall, purpose and mission and vision, is for me to help other educational leaders. And since I'm a practicing educational leader, I always got something I can say down the road. And now, after finishing my 7th year, I feel
Mm-hmm.
like I'm in a position to where I can speak from my experience and maybe try to help others that are maybe starting off, and maybe they don't go through some of the struggles that some of us has gone through. In the beginning, maybe they can start off on a better foot and just be better for it. So that's the overall goal of my podcast.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. Yeah, and I like the piece about bringing in some of the things that you're experiencing on the day to day and how, that helps principals who might need the PD or might not have a lot of connections or have found other podcasts that serve their needs as a school leader.
Yeah.
So I wanted to talk a little bit about some of the things that your school improvement team has implemented. You talked about the last 3 years. There are three key initiatives that have transformed your school's culture. So these are things that I know a lot of secondary schools have plans usually to revamp and get progress in making things better, but sometimes those don't always work or there's not always the follow through. So talk to me a little bit about this process with your school improvement team.
Yeah, I would say through my first 4 years of being a principal, at my first principalship in a small rural school in
Hmm.
Nebraska, I learned that, I have a lot of smart people in the building that have a lot of experience, and to lean on those experiences and bring them to the table so they have a voice. And
Hmm.
so, when I got to my current position at Hastings High, my first thing was to figure out what, get to know and build relationships. But then I started hearing themes. My first year, you walk in this building,
Hmm.
it felt like kids were everywhere. They were
Yeah.
hiding in the bathrooms. They were not where they're supposed to be. We were using paper passes. The teachers were frustrated because this kid would, show up to this class, but not to this class. And then,
Hmm.
so we had all of these things. We talked about cell phones, the inconsistencies of the cell phone policies and different things like that. So within that first year, I listened, I collected data, and we started talking as a school improvement team. And before I really got the school improvement team together, I ask people, do you want to be a part of this team?
Mm-hmm.
This team is going to look for solutions that we are currently facing in our building,
Mm-hmm.
and we're going to look for solutions and try to find ways to mitigate those things that we feel like is holding us back from being more effective as teachers and helping kids learn. And so you could see it felt like as administrators, my assistant principals and myself, we felt like we're just chasing kids in a
Mm-hmm.
circle.
Mm-hmm.
In that first year, it's like it was exhausting. So we're like, there's got to be a better way. So the school improvement team came together. We started looking at like, let's just take the cell phone policy, and we started looking, how do other people do this? I know the big
Mm-hmm.
thing was like, just get rid of cell phones all the way. Don't let them
Mm-hmm.
have it all the way. Make it a school free, no cell phone policy, school. And we were looking at that. We
Yeah.
also looked at like, what if we say, here's our expectation. This is what we do. So we would come together, we'd meet, we'd go out and have the school improvement team talk to the other teachers. They would bring information back. We'd talk some more. We'd look at our policy. We
Mm-hmm.
start making adjustments. And so this was a process we did throughout the year.
Okay.
So it wasn't something that we just snapped and made it. It was several drafts and several conversations. Where do we want it to go? How do we want it to look like? Because in the end, my staff have to be the one to execute it. As a principal, I didn't want to come down and mandate something. I wanted it to be teacher led,
Mm-hmm.
staff led, to where they could have ownership into it. They were a part of the process, and then they would have the buy in because they're the ones that helped it. We guided it.
Mm-hmm.
Once we had it ready, we went up to the district office. We presented it. They presented to the school board. We got it approved, and bam, we had a new policy. So basically, our cell phone, our personal electronic device, we were a one-to-one
Mm-hmm.
Chromebook school, and that's a pretty significant thing to have. We have 1,000 students in our high school, so we're one-to-one. So we tell kids, you don't need your cell phones. So what we did is we put phone caddies in the rooms, and we said
Mm-hmm.
the expectation is this: you put your phone in the caddy and you can't have it during instruction. If you see it, it's going to the office. Like
Mm-hmm.
there's no question. That's just the expectation. You will not
Mm-hmm.
have it out during instructional time. Now, they could have it out between passing periods. We have 5-minute passing periods and during the lunchtime in the
Yeah.
cafeteria, but that's it. Before school, after school, between passing periods, cafeteria. The reason why we did that is we feel like we had to teach some sort of digital citizenship with it. If we just ban it all, it felt like we're just going to just be taking cell phones all day long. Now, with that, it gives the kids that ability to check their phone, but then move on, get into class, and it starts all over again. The
Mm-hmm.
expectation. So it took a while for the kids to really
Yeah.
know that we were serious about it, but it took really the staff coming together. And I didn't roll it out. I let my school improvement team leaders roll it out. They're the ones
Okay.
that talked about it in a professional development at the end of the first year. This is what we're going to do. And everybody got on board. And for the most part, yeah, we've had some hiccups, but I would say it's been very successful. I think I did a survey. We were about 97% of staff really liked it. And so that was a part of that. And the thing is it gave ownership, but
Mm-hmm.
it took out the argument to where if a kid or a parent said, well, this is our policy, and we stood firm with that. And so the first offense that goes to the main office. You have to do an hour detention. You get it
Mm-hmm.
back. If not, your parents come get it. The second offense would be your parents are coming to get it. And so we put it back on the parent to kind of help us out with this. And then the third time, I'm going to ask the parent not to allow their kid to have their phone anymore. Don't
Mm-hmm.
bring it to school because obviously you're having trouble being
Yeah.
responsible. So that's kind of where that is. Now to get rid of the wandering in the hallways.
Mm-hmm.
We went away from paper passes and
Mm-hmm.
use an e-hall pass system the last 2 years. And the teachers asked for a hall monitor duty.
Mm-hmm.
So we already
Wow.
have some duties. They asked for this, and I'm like, "Are you sure?
Wow.
Are you sure you want this duty?" And they're like, "Yes, we want this duty because we know if we have people in the hallway checking the restrooms and
Mm-hmm.
helping the administration, it's going to clear up our hallways." And you know what? They were right.
Yeah.
because we have teachers that will patrol the hallways. They have the e-hall pass system, and we're not like saying, we're not being jerks about it. We're like, hey, where are you supposed to be? Where can we help
Mm-hmm.
you get to? We're being nice about it, and we're finding patterns, and we're using that data to figure out if a kid's
Yeah.
avoiding a certain, and that's made that whole difference for us, to where you come into our school now, hardly anybody's in the hallway. They're where they need to be. The kids know we have accountability everywhere in the
Yeah.
hallway. It's not just the principals doing it. It's, our hall monitors, it's everybody working together, and it's worked out really, really well. And now we have more kids in the classroom. Their learning is better. We have kids with better grades because they're not worried about what's on their phone, because they can't have it during instructional time. And we still give some of the teachers a little bit of they could kind of make some decisions in their classroom. We're not taking it all away from them.
Mm-hmm.
So, it's kind of like, this is the expectation. It's building wide, and
Mm-hmm.
everybody knows it. And if you talk to a kid and said, hey, what's the cell phone expectation? They could tell you, because they
Yeah.
know what it is. And that's kind of where the e-hall pass system is. They know the expectation, where they're supposed to be. If they're not there, they better have some sort of reason to be where they're at. If not, we get them to where they need to be. So that's worked out well. And then, using that same process, we did that with the attendance policy.
Mm-hmm.
So in year two, we worked on the attendance policy, where we started that this last year. So we just finished up a year with our new attendance policy, to where we had a policy that wasn't really used, and
Mm-hmm.
it was outdated. So we figured, let's figure something else out. Well, my assistant principal and my former superintendent, because we got a new superintendent this coming year, they were at the administrator days here in Nebraska. They
Mm-hmm.
saw what Norris High School was doing. We brought it back. We had some conversation with Norris High School, and we go, we really kind of like what they're doing. So we took it and we adopted it for Hastings High School.
Mm-hmm.
And so now, with our policy, is we are a modified block. So if you miss a class period 8 days in a semester, you can lose half credit. Now,
Mm-hmm.
we're raising the expectation. If you're not in school, there's going to be consequences. And so, instead of taking full credit, we take half credit. But we have an appeals process, to where kids and parents can go, you know what? We want to try to gain full credit. We can create an
Mm-hmm.
education plan. So within this attendance policy, we created 3 levels, or 3 tiers, an MTSS process with the leadership team, which is different from the school improvement team. The school improvement team, we developed it, but then the leadership team is kind of what runs it. It's kind of
Okay.
we're able to figure out where kids are at. We are taking, data for attendance weekly. So my attendance coordinator will bring that information to the meeting. We'll have our attendance data meeting, to where we go, okay, where are these kids at? How many days have they missed? Have we done level one? Have we done tier one interventions? To where we're making sure they understand the expectation. Was it a barrier? Were
Mm-hmm.
they, what is the barrier that's keeping you from being to school and being on time? That's our first step, is try to figure out, how could we help them.
Mm-hmm.
The second tier, we start getting our school community liaison involved, to where they do a home visit. They're trying to figure out, hey, you're getting closer here to losing credit, but we want to try to help you remove barriers if there's anything. So we have that. And then our third is we start to get into, before we get them to truancy, we refer them to our STARS program, which is an extension of our county, to
Mm-hmm.
where they come to these attendance meetings. They know well in advance who's struggling to get to school and why they're struggling to get to school, but yet we're trying to help them. So this whole
Mm-hmm.
time we're trying to help them. But if they get to that 8 days, they lose half credit, but we have an appeals process that they go through. And most of the time, we create an education plan where they can get full credit back.
Mm-hmm.
If that doesn't happen, we have other options with credit recovery, summer school. So there's ways to get your credit back. But what we did is we just have accountability piece along the way. We're looking at data weekly, where kids are at. But this whole system didn't just happen. It was the
Hmm.
school improvement team collaborating, teachers going back to other teachers, bringing information back and making it work for us. And my assistant principals are really the ones that kind of run it because
Hmm.
they're the ones sending the letters out, the 4 day
Okay.
letters, the 8 day letters. I send out the 15 and 20-day letters. Well, that's your hidden truancy. You're hitting the bigger marks that we don't want you to get. But I've sent out less of those this year,
Okay.
and we're able to catch kids. And so with our attendance policy, our daily average attendance rate increased by 3.97%. So we have about 40 more kids every day showing up to school, being where they need to be. Then our chronic absenteeism in 1 year dropped 8.9% in 1 year, which tells me we have about 89, 90 less kids chronically absent. Now, is it perfect?
Hmm.
No. Is it better? Yes.
Hmm.
It's way better, but the thing is the kids know the expectation. We have, people that like we had people just decide to go homeschool their kid because they didn't want to be held accountable to the
Yeah.
attendance of school. So they decided we're going to
Hmm.
do a homeschool exemption and say see you later. We had that happen, but
Yeah.
it's kind of like what do you do? This is our expectation. We're going to raise the bar. We're going to expect you to hit it, and we
Hmm.
did it. And it wasn't me telling them how to do it. It was us working together, collaborating to make it happen. It wasn't something that was mandated. It was something that we worked together on, and that's really why that collaboration piece is so huge. Sitting in the seat as a principal, because if you think you can do this by yourself and you're just
Yeah.
going to mandate it, good luck to you. It's not happening.
No. No, I really like hearing about how you manage to set those different tiers in place as to what can happen. First of all, with that um, having the truancy of 8 days, and then just getting them to um, the community liaison, the STARS program if needed, right? And then
Yeah,
there's all these people working together. It's not just an assistant principal or yourself, or so
no,
they can expect to hear from multiple people, or a lot of people are looking at the data. I mean, I worked in attendance and truancy before, and as a dean, and I was basically the person who was the direct contact to the district about truant students, or talking with parents and finding solutions, but it wasn't really a team effort.
yeah, no. I mean, I think you have to have that. I
Yeah.
mean, we have our school psych involved, our
Yeah.
counselors are involved, our assistant principals are involved, our community liaison, the STARS program, which works with the county attorney,
Hmm.
like hand in hand. So where if it gets to the STARS program and they're not successful,
Hmm.
they turn it over to the county attorney for truancy. And it's been really effective because they know at the county level, like we're doing everything we can. And the whole goal of it is how can we help you be in school?
Yeah.
How can we remove barriers? That's what we're doing. Yeah,
Hmm.
we have these levels of supports and interventions for kids, but at the same time, we want to make sure from the go, they understand we care about them. We understand that we want them here because we want them to learn. And if you're not here, you're not going to learn what you need to be
Hmm.
successful. So you can A, get the credits you need, graduate, but be ready for, what awaits you outside of high school. Because we're not just trying to prepare kids for college, we're preparing kids for the workforce. We have kids that are coming straight out of high school, going into welding programs, making $80,000 within 2 years out of high school. I mean, you have those pathways. Not everybody is designed to go to college, but
Hmm.
you need to come to school so you can learn what you
Yeah.
have here because we have a lot of opportunities that hey, you know what? It doesn't cost you anything in a public school setting. Just come here. We have all these programs for you. Find your niche, but that's the essence of it. Is how can we help kids and how can we help families? Be where they need to be, but yet get the education they deserve because when you're not in school, you're not learning. And it's really helped. Is it going to get everybody? No, but you know what? It's knocked down quite a bit of kids chronically absent and getting more kids in the building and more kids learning. And I can say that every metric for our
Hmm.
ACT has improved this
Hmm.
year. So that was exciting to see that, even if it was a tenth of a point improvement, it was an improvement, and
Yeah.
every metric of our ACT improved this year. And I think that's a credit to kids being where they need to be. They're in school. Their attendance is better. And it's been really fun to see and watch that throughout the year. And throughout the school year, I was giving our teachers updates, our students updates, our parents updates on how we're doing with attendance and
Hmm.
how we're improving from one year to the next. And so I know my superintendent really enjoyed that. The school board enjoyed hearing the positive gains we're making throughout the school year. And that just wanted to motivate people to keep going, keep doing the work because it is working. You may not feel like it at times, but it's there, and keep doing the work that matters, and it will all turn out the way we need it or the way we envision it to turn out.
Yeah, and it's great that, it's something that students are aware of, what the expectations are, like the hall passes and the cell phone policy. So it's something that gets passed down to, the incoming freshmen and
Hmm.
if there's students that move to the school during the year, it's something that's like they know it's a serious thing, right?
Yeah,
You're not playing around, right? And
yeah,
there's consequences to these things like having the cell phone out during class or not attending, right? I think at the high school level, a lot of kids, if something is not consistent and implemented correctly, they know it's just, talk is talk and they're,
yeah,
they're not getting consequences. So I think kudos to your improvement team and
yeah.
helping improve these practices that I think a lot of schools can learn a lot from.
Yeah, no, I mean, it's been very, really fun to sit in the seat and watching people just collaborate and do the
Hmm.
work. And it's just like, oh my gosh, just as much, as we collaborate and working as a team. I mean, that was my vision coming in here. My vision coming in, like, how can we work together to be successful?
Hmm.
And you know
Hmm.
what? If you're hearing me, I'm not worried about what we got on our English. I mean, yeah, look at it, but I'm not worried about my academic scores. We're worried about the things that help them get the academic scores. We're trying to
Hmm.
go, how do we get the kids where they need to be so they can learn? I mean, there is issues that we had to figure out before the learning and the academic success can happen.
Yeah.
And if you don't have that, and you don't build a culture that expects those things, then you're not going to get the gains academically you would like to see. So going into my fourth year coming up, all these kids only know me as the principal.
Hmm.
So that's going to be exciting to see. They understand this is where we're at. This is what we've done, but they only know me as their building principal, and they understand the systems that have been in place. And it's been a lot of fun because I would also say the collaboration piece has kept my turnover lower, because I only had uh, one, two, three staff, I believe. I remember right off the top of my head, three staff that left, but two to retirement, one because they wanted to go farm, right? All right, that's pretty good at about 74 staff
Yeah.
members. I didn't have very much turnover. We were able to fill the holes that we had because we had some holes last year. But outside of that, we're trying to make this place the place people want to be. They want
Hmm.
to come, they want to stay. And my job is to put great teachers in front of people and just hiring. We are collaborative. We're
Hmm.
bringing in a team of people to do the hiring. It's not just Mr. Linden saying, "Yeah, that's who we're hiring." We're not. It's not just me making those
Yeah.
decisions.
Yeah.
And so that's kind of like my leadership and kind of how I do things. And I feel like that's probably the best way to do it at any level. If you're a small rural school or if you are a larger urban or suburban school as well.
Yeah. Yeah. No, I really like how you talk about that piece with when these systems are in place, it's a better work climate for everybody and
Yep.
as well as them wanting to participate in the hiring decisions for those that are coming into the school. So
Yep.
so you are attending a few conferences. You have the United one coming up. Talk to me about some of the professional development that you like to gather from conferences. You also sometimes go to your state admin days as well.
Yeah, so I'm gonna get ready here to go out to Seattle and do the United Principals Conference.
Hmm.
I think what I'm most excited about is to meet up with people,
Hmm.
A, I've been on my podcast, but B, just to get to learn from other people from around the country of what they're doing. I generally like map out like, okay, these are some things that we're struggling with. Is there anything that I can go to a session and try to get information to bring back to my team?
Hmm.
That's part of my goal is to figure out, okay, this is an issue. How can we do this better?
Hmm.
I might peek into, hey, how are other people utilizing their electronic device policies? Are we all on the same track? Or, I might look at some things that we currently do and see if we can streamline it. I think one thing is looking at, the impact of AI and how other people are using AI. I know
Hmm.
for us, we actually signed off for a year with Magic School, and I wouldn't have been able to know about Magic School without having Principal Bo on my podcast and
Okay.
learning from her. And so we did a pilot. The teachers just absolutely love it. We
Okay.
figured out a way to cut cost to where we can go ahead and make this a sustainable practice to where we can utilize AI in a way that the teachers get to control it. It's not open AI, it's a closed AI, but it's designed for educators. And it's one of those tools I'm helping teachers streamline their practices, their differentiation. They take things they already done, they could put it in there and they could differentiate it for them, put it at different learning targets or different level depths of knowledge, questions and different
Hmm.
things like that. And they were really impressed with it, and they're really excited that we were able to figure out a way to afford it because everybody's getting budget cutted
Yeah.
anymore. But I just basically said we're going to cut this cost so we can have this,
Hmm.
and so we're able to do that. And so that was one of those things, just that I'm excited about is just networking with other people. I already have a few people that I'm going to connect with because there's some things that I'm learning from other principals around the
Hmm.
nation. I'm going to be able to sit down face to face with them and
Hmm.
have a conversation. Hey, I see that you're doing this. So something that I'm going to
Hmm.
do is I'm going to talk to Tony Catani about how he has his teachers observe each other. And so he has a whole system in place. I'm like, I'm going to pick his brain while I'm there.
Hmm.
We've already talked back and forth and like, hey, we'll sit down, we'll talk about it, and I want to learn more about how he structures it because I don't want to like tell teachers you have to do this. I want to
Yeah.
give teachers an opportunity to go learn from each other because what's one of the best ways to learn is from other teachers in your building. If they're doing something well that you can get better at, go watch them. Use
Hmm.
your time to do that. And it's volunteer. It's something that you're not demanding, you're not
Yeah. Yeah.
mandating it. So that's something I'm going to learn about. We'll see if it's something I can implement. But that's something I'm excited about. Coming into the state, Nebraska's Administrator Days, that's a time for my team to get together and really we get to get ready for the next year. We're
Hmm.
going to be able to network with other principals around the state. We're going to be there as a team to where we are, you know, just fellowshipping. We are, connecting with each other. One of the things we're going to do is we're going to do a little golf outing together to where we're with other administrators and getting do those fun things, but then learning at the conferences and divide and conquer on those things, right? Hey, I'm going to go to this session. You're going to go to that session. We're going to bring these things together. We
Hmm.
talk about what we learn and, something that we may want to take back to our staff. And so that's what makes Administrator Days. It's kind of one of those exciting, but yet, oh crap, school's around the corner times to where you're going to learn some things, but know that if you can take one thing from a conference that back to your school to help your school become better, it was worth it. And that's kind of how I look at these conferences. And
Hmm.
so if I could find that one nugget that I could take back to make us better, that makes it all worth it for us.
Yeah. Yeah, I can hear the excitement in your voice. And, I think like myself, I'm not going to that conference this year, but I just came back from ISTE and any large, especially national conference where you're collaborating with connections and like you said, you have plans to meet up with some people you've had on your podcast and hear more about what they do, but also sessions that might help you plan for some of the things you want to implement this coming year. Those always are great to have as you go into starting school in August. So
You bet, yeah.
I wanted to ask, since you are going on is it year 7 or year 8
I'm
total as a
going to year
principal?
8 as a principal, year 19 as an educator.
I wanted to ask just some tips that you might have for new principals or principals who might be changing roles to a different school, like a different level of school, or like a rural to a suburban school or something like
Yeah,
that.
I would say no matter if you're a new principal going
Mm-hmm.
into the role, I mean, it could be a rural school, a suburban school, or urban school, it don't
Mm-hmm.
matter. I think what you have to understand is you're not going to come in year one and change the world.
Yeah.
If you try to do that, it's not going to work out well for you. What I did is I developed a 60-90-30 transition plan. It's something that I use from my transition from my former school, Southern Valley, into my Hastings High School. It's actually something I actually used in my interview and said, this is what my plan is for you guys. I actually researched the school. I already
Mm-hmm.
know some systems, but this is my vision for my first year. And my first 60 days was all about building relationships with my
Mm-hmm.
staff. And I'm not just talking teachers, I'm talking administrative assistants, your custodial staff,
Mm-hmm.
your, anybody and everybody that works within the building you're in. You need to build a relationship.
Mm-hmm.
Paras, nurses, teachers. I mean, my assistant principals, my AD, everybody that is under my care, I need to have a one-on-one conversation with them. So I spent time in the first 60 days getting to everybody, getting to learn something about them. They get to
Mm-hmm.
know me, breaking the ice. And at the time, I would have some people tell me some of their concerns and things they would like
Mm-hmm.
to
Yeah.
see differently. So that's where I started collecting that data. Hey, I see it. I hear a theme kind of
Mm-hmm.
arriving from different teachers from
Yeah.
different departments. And so that's kind of what led us to kind of do some of the work we did in that first year because I kept hearing these things. So I went on a listening tour. I got to know people, built relationships within that first 60 days. And then the next 90 days, that's where we started collecting data. Okay,
Mm-hmm.
why is this happening? Bring it to the school improvement team. Hey, here's some data we can look at to determine, why we're having the issues we're having. Hey, what do you think? And then you bring it in like, hey, this is what this school does. This is what this school does. We'd reach out, use our networking skills to figure out, what other people are doing to solve these issues. And then we would start finding solutions through the data and the work and just collaborating within the next 90 days and then the next 30 days. And then also was celebrating successes within that 90 days. Like, hey, here's some things we're doing well. And so I
Mm-hmm.
focused on the positive things that I saw. I didn't want to bring up the negative stuff because my whole job in that first year was to build their confidence and to build them so they understand that I'm here to help and support them, not to tear them down and nitpick at all the negative things. Yeah, there's some things that'll pop up, but I
Yeah.
wanted to bring light. Hey, you guys are doing well here. We're doing well here. Here's some things we might want to work on, but let's work together on that. How can we support each other on that? And then the last 30 days, we do some more end of the year celebrations, celebrate any successes we're having, but yet we are finalizing some of the changes. That's when we brought in this district office and the school board about making the changes within our personal technology device, our e-hall pass, or
Mm-hmm.
getting the hall monitoring system in place for the next year. And we repeated that again for the attendance policy. Then we repeated that for this upcoming freshman only day because that was
Mm-hmm.
something we wanted to get better. How can we transition those eighth graders into the high school? And so our very first day of the year is going to be a freshman only day where I bring the freshmen in. We kind of give them the feel of the high school, get to meet their teachers before we have everybody in the building. Because, like I said, there's 1,000 students that come to the
Mm-hmm.
school and
Mm-hmm.
it can be hectic, right? When you're an eighth grader in a team setting at a middle school, you come here and everybody's everywhere. it gets a little bit of like, oh my gosh, what am I into? So we're trying to establish rapport with them, but get to know people and connect them before we bring everybody in, and they at least have an idea
Yeah.
where they're going and what's going on before. So we did that as well. So within that first year, I would say build relationships, listen, start collecting data, bring it to the forefront, collaborate with your staff on that, develop a school improvement team if you don't have one.
Yeah.
Try to get people from different departments on the team. Have someone from the math department, science department, social studies, art, music, band. Have them represented. Have a counselor on board. Have an assistant principal on board. Have, our school psych involved. Like, have people involved so you get a lot of different perspectives and bring them to the table. Even bringing in our PE teacher was helpful because they could go, well, I don't see how that could work for us, but so it's kind of one of those things. We have those honest conversations around the problem we're solving, but you know what? We have a consensus when we're done.
Hmm.
And we can say, we came together and put our heads together. We thought about all these things. This is what we all said would work for our school. And then now I have something to where we all agreed on this. And now we have an accountability to where all I'm doing as a principal and all my assistant principal are doing is we're managing the system that we've created and we've developed. And so I think those are what I kind of went on a tangent there on some
Hmm.
things, but yeah, build relationships, listen, bring people in and collaborate to solve anything that you need to get solved in that first year so you can start building that culture that you envision. And for
Hmm.
me, my culture that I envision as we're a team, we want to work as a team, and how do we solve problems as a team? And that's something we're going to continue to do, even going into year four. So there you go.
Yeah, no, I think those are a lot of great points that you put out, especially the piece about the 60, 90, and 30-day transition plan. I know most principals have some sort of a 90-day plan, but like you said, you had those 30 days after the 90 days were over, and then the 90 after the 60 were over. So that's a different way of looking at it, and making sure that you're not changing everything, right? Year one,
No,
you're observing. I mean, that's um, yeah, it's looking at what works and what
yeah.
doesn't, and not trying to bulldoze, right?
Yeah,
So,
and especially if you're new to the district, you're
yeah.
new to the people, you got to build those relationships. You got to figure out what do they do well? What are some things we can improve upon? And now all I do is sit here and goes, how do I streamline what we currently do? How can we streamline? How can I make my teachers' jobs easier?
Hmm.
How do I make my staff job easier? I always am looking for solutions to things to where, oh, and that's where these conferences come in. That might be something that makes my teacher's job easier because what
Hmm.
I don't want them to do is feel burned out. And that's where like having a product like Magic School AI come in next year. I'll tell you some of the feedback I got off of from my teachers, like, dude, I just saved hours of time developing these lessons, but you still have to vet it. You still have to, do things. You actually can push out some AI products and to the kids as well that they can use. But guess what? The teacher has control over what kids can use and what they can't use. But we could teach them how to use it properly. And
Yeah.
it's not just something that, you're at ChatGPT just making stuff up. No, how can we utilize this AI product to give you feedback about your own writing?
Yeah.
That was something my English teachers loved is like, hey, my kid will put their writing in and it gives them feedback quicker than I can.
Yeah.
And they can just keep going through the process that's set in place. So, I mean, that's just an example of how do we utilize technology in a way that helps our teachers, but how the teachers can help kids understand that technology and how they can learn from it and use it as a tool, not a way to get something done because you don't want to do it, but how can you learn through that process?
Hmm. Hmm. Yeah, that's a great point. Well, we've had a great conversation today about your experience as a principal, some of the systems that you set in place the last 3 years, and also getting into podcasting and now consistently putting out weekly episodes on the Ed Leadership podcast. Out of everything we've talked about today, what's one thing you'd like listeners to remember?
I think you can't do this job on your own. You got to
Hmm.
have people to collaborate with, but lean on the experience your staff have.
Yeah.
because they will come up with great ideas that you won't come up with.
Yeah.
So you may think you have all these great ideas, but really get to know them because you want to develop a rapport relationship with them that they can come to you and say, you know what? I thought of this idea. What do you think?
Yeah.
There's a few times that happened. I got to talk about our work-based learning program. Our teacher's like, we've been working on this for a while. I looked at them like, what's stopping you from finishing it?
Yeah.
And they're like, and that was year one. They're like, really? I'm like, let's go. Like, you guys have been working on this. Let's get the work-based
Yeah.
learning program going. And then now we have it going. It's been up and running for 2 years, but it took them saying, we have this idea. It took me saying, go for it.
Yeah.
What do we have to lose?
Mm-hmm.
And developing a culture of they can take risks. They're not afraid because they're not going to worry that I'm going to get mad at something. They
Mm-hmm.
understand, like, I
Mm-hmm.
want you to fail. I want you to learn from the failure, but yeah, I want you to take risks because that's how you learn and grow. And
Yeah.
so that's something I do. I would say, as an educational leader, fine professional development through podcasts because
Mm-hmm.
there's a lot of them out there. Like your podcast here, I have a podcast. I mean, I've talked about a few of them out there. Find something that you can go to and, find an episode that you can get something out of. Because if you're doing this job and you're in rural school, you're not gonna have a lot of opportunities to network,
Mm-hmm.
but have
Yeah.
something to where you can go to and get ideas and network. And don't be afraid to reach out. You could reach out to me if you have any questions about anything. I'm more than willing to sit down and talk to anybody in these positions and try to help them out as well. So one of those things, find ways and creative ways to grow yourself as you
Mm-hmm.
grow your staff, and that's another thing I would hit on too.
Well, where can people connect with you and find you online?
Yeah, so I'm on a lot of major platforms like TikTok, Instagram, Facebook. If you find Principal JL, you'll find me. X, you have to find the principal JL, but
Mm-hmm.
my email is the.principal.jl@gmail.com. If you go to any episode on the educational leadership with Principal JL,
Mm-hmm.
you can find the connect with me button. It'll have all my connections there to where you could email me, you could text me, you could, uh, find me on social media, reach out to any of those platforms. I typically respond pretty quickly, but at the same time, I'm willing to help people that are out there needing help and
Mm-hmm.
needing some guidance. I'm more than willing to do that. And podcasts are free, so you might as well get
Yeah.
some free PD out there. Like my buddy Josh Tabar says,
Mm-hmm.
hey, free PD at your fingertips. So he's a
Yeah.
great guy. So I would encourage you to give him a follow too.
Well, thank you so much for being my guest on the Out of the Trenches podcast. It was really insightful to hear from your experience and what you can give to others as tips as they plan for school improvement, as they build relationships with their staff, and also attend professional development. Thanks so much for being my guest today.
You bet, Dana. Thank you for having me on the show.